Now to another of the day's big stories, government plans which represent a fundamental change to how the criminal justice system operates. The Justice Secretary, David Lammy, has written a memo suggesting that only murder, rape and manslaughter trials should be heard by a jury, with everything else left to a judge. It's part of plans to clear the backlog in the courts, but critics are saying the plans go far beyond previous recommendations. Let's speak now to Henley KC, who is former chair of the Criminal Bar Association. Really good of you to join us tonight on what could be a momentous day for the judicial system in this country. Your thoughts when you first heard these plans?
To be honest, I find it heartbreaking, shocking, and I'm afraid shameful that David Lammy, the person who was such an eloquent advocate for our jury system over the last few years, one of the most powerful voices speaking as to the fairness of outcomes of trials where juries sit compared to the alternatives, is now going to smash things up. When we had a real emergency, a real crisis in 2020, when jury trial effectively stopped because of COVID, and this sort of proposal was being discussed, these were his words. Jury trials are a fundamental part of our democratic settlement. Criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. And he told the government to pull their finger out and put, and those were his words, and to put the necessary resources in. And the same is true today. It might make a tiny difference at the margins, the time taken to impanel a jury at the beginning of a trial. Perhaps a judge would reach the ultimate verdict a few hours earlier. But justice and confidence in our system and the integrity of verdicts, the fairness of the process will be destroyed. And David Lammy set out all of the reasons why he came to that conclusion in a really thoughtful, powerful review that he wrote in 2017. And I'm afraid the Leveson report is not a patch on that.
You have to wonder then, now that he's in the position of being Justice Secretary, what pushed him to change his mind on juries? Is it an indication of, once you're in a position of power, to try and make a difference, to try and clear the court backlog, get the wheels of justice turning, that actually he was left with no alternative plans? If not this plan, what? Because people are waiting years for justice.
No, the delays are appalling, absolutely appalling. But there's lots of things, big and small, that should be done and should have already been done. What David Lammy now thinks, who knows, because he's not really speaking to anyone. He's someone's leaking a memo instead, and that's supposed to serve as an alternative for him being grilled as to why he's changed his mind so profoundly. I seriously doubt that he has. I wonder, it's a bit cynical, but it's the budget tomorrow, and this perhaps is serving as something of a distraction.
Invitation to the Justice Secretary to come on to Sky News to talk about this. He knows this, you know this, so we will at some point be able to speak to the Justice Secretary about this. But when you talk about there are other things that could have been done that would have been more effective, what are they? And if they are the answers to the problem, why aren't they the ones that the Justice Secretary is selecting?
Well, can I give you just one example, two examples of the same problem? I'm in a trial at the moment, a murder trial, 5 defendants. On Friday, the defendants should have been produced at court at 10 o'clock. We were told, oh, there were problems, they should be here by 12. Weren't at court at 12, weren't at court at 12:30. At 12:45, we were told they hadn't even left the prison and they wouldn't be at court until 3:30. The day's business had to be abandoned. This morning, I was in another hearing at another court, 6 teenage defendants. There wasn't the capacity to bring them to the building, and they were in different locations, and the technology didn't exist or wasn't working, or there was some sort of problem, which meant that they couldn't even join the hearing remotely, which is increasingly common. There are so many basic things. I mean, the late delivery of defendants, it bedevils every court in the country every single day. Hundreds of hours are wasted. Trials are lost. The latest stats from the Institute of Fiscal Studies showed that 1,000 trials didn't take place last year because there aren't enough barristers to prosecute and not enough barristers to defend. So think of the number of witnesses and victims who've really got themselves prepared for the tough ordeal, tough for everybody involved, witnesses, victims and defendants, all vulnerable, all no doubt very anxious. But trials fail because of the lack of resources, the lack of infrastructure. Our buildings are collapsing, our courts sit empty. That's what should be done, not the destruction of the integrity and fairness of our justice system.
You've pointed out that we've not heard directly from the Justice Secretary today, but we have heard from a representative of government on Sky News this evening, Pat McFadden, the Work and Pension Secretary, the details of this memo put to him earlier in our Politics Hub programme. Let's just listen to his response.
Juries have been at the foundation of our justice system for a very long period of time. I mean, this would be quite the move, wouldn't it?
Well, of course, there will still be jury trial.
Only potentially for some of the most significant court cases.
The story says that it may be for a narrower range of alleged offences. Let's see what the MOJ have to say about that. We do, of course, value, respect and cherish trial by jury, but we also have to cherish the idea that people can have their case heard in court in good time. And we've got an enormous backlog, and simply doing what we've been doing for the past few years is not addressing that backlog sufficiently quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if my colleagues at the MOJ are looking at perhaps some radical ways in how they can reduce that backlog.
It's worth reminding people watching, Chris, why you feel juries are so integral to the judicial system, because, we are hearing that they will be still included for the most serious of crimes like rape and murder, but not in others. Why do you think it's integral to have a jury at the heart of the justice system?
Well, because it brings a range of different people with a range of different backgrounds into court to hear all of the evidence, hear all of the arguments, and then sit together, challenge each other's prejudices. This is exactly what David Lammy articulated in his review. And he said that the one real success story in the whole of our justice system was the jury. When you tested it by any metric, their results were fair and consistent. And when his words were, this positive story about the jury system is not matched by such a story for magistrates' verdicts. And he said the same about Crown Court judges, I'm afraid. We all have prejudices. One person making a decision day in, day out, they become case hardened, they're too influenced by their own narrow experience, having a range of eyes and voices, debating until they reach a solid, sure decision. That's what is something that we've always been so proud of. It goes back hundreds of years. I mean, I could quote you jurists, historians who talk about the importance of juries and how embedded it is in our constitutional settlement. Words, again, which David Lammy used himself just a few years ago. I've no idea. I've absolutely no idea why he's changed his mind. Nothing objectively has changed. So I can't wait to hear him challenged and have his own words put back to him. It's a terrible day. It's going to ruin lives. I
was going to say exactly the same thing. At some point, he will be interviewed about this, and exactly what you said, the words that he has used before becoming Justice Secretary will be put to him, and he'll be able to state his case, because at the moment, we just have this leaked memo to go on, but it is indeed, causing a stir, such a radical move, a huge shake-up of something that, as you point out, has been, part of our justice system for hundreds of years. Listen, Chris, I'm sure we'll talk about this again. It's not the last time we'll be talking about this subject. Chris Henley KC, barrister at Mountford Chambers and former chair of the Criminal Bar Association. I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks.
And now today, a High Court judge blocked a request from the family of Muriel Mackay,